Good morning. Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Hope you're all fit and well. Did you all manage to get the barbecue out this weekend? We did just yesterday. I was reminded of the fact I don't actually like barbecue food very much. Don't get me wrong. I like a burger and a sausage as much as the next guy. But since when was salad and new potatoes a suitable accompaniment for either of them? Just weird. Barbecues are also the only time that I notice that I no longer drink. I'm more than 10 years sober now, and I don't even think about it most of the time. But it feels really strange to be stood beside a barbecue without a beer in my hand. It's like my balance has been thrown off somehow. Now, today being Monday, and it is Monday, I've checked, you'll be pleased to know that my weekly column landed first thing this morning. It's on the subject of electric machines, or more specifically, how the UK government might end the electric revolution even before it's begun. You can read the article using the link that I'm about to post in the chat. I have a button for just such an occasion. You should be seeing it now. It's called "Could the Government Short Circuit the Electric Revolution?" Love to get your feedback on that, if I may. I'm also going to say a very quick good morning to a few people because they arrived after I'd get me placing the right. There we are. Ken Hatter is here as well. Lou Khan is here, and Justin Carrigan's here as well. Good morning to you, one and all. I've already said hello to everybody else. I think if I've missed anyone, please shout, and I'll do my best to rectify the situation. Just on the subject of the article, the electric revolution, if you'd like to receive that weekly column, you can subscribe following that link. It's actually going to be a new venue for my longer form articles and that kind of thing. It's free to subscribe, won't cost you a dime. So if you'd like that sort of thing delivered to your inbox on a Monday morning, then please feel free to subscribe. Now we have a jam-packed show ahead that includes a trip down memory lane that I think you're going to enjoy. So without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show on the road. And it is Monday, the 5th of June. The 5th of June. It's nearly plant works time, people. Welcome to the Breakcraft Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony. In today's show, we're taking a closer look at the latest addition to the Bobcat wheel loader lineup. Komatsu targets sustainability, and when blasts go bad. And it does too. Plus, we're going to take a trip down memory lane with the fine folks at JCB. And we're going to get to all of that in just a second. But first, let us peer back through the mists of time to see what was happening on this day in history. On this day in 1661, Isaac Newton was admitted as a student to Trinity College in Cambridge. I reckon he was a proper smartass. In 1927, a man called Johnny Weissmuller set new 100 and 200-yard freestyle swimming records. That would be enough to secure him the job as TV's first Tarzan. Remember him? Anyone? Sadly, I do. Not from 1927, but I certainly remember him. In 1944, after receiving favourable weather reports, and we're looking for favourable weather reports for next week, after receiving favourable weather reports, General Eisenhower gave the order to proceed with the D-Day invasion, which would actually begin tomorrow. In 1964, Davy Jones and the King Bees released their debut single, I Can't Help Thinking About Me. Didn't do very much, and when the group disbanded, Davy Jones would go on to become David Bowie. Yeah. In 1968, Bobby Kennedy was shot. He would die the following day. And in 1991, Mikhail Gorbachev received the Nobel Peace Prize. And finally, in 2018, Harvey Weinstein pleaded not guilty to rape charges in a New York court. Court didn't believe him either, and long may he rot. Now, before we get into the real meat of the show, let me remind you of the question of the day. That's not the one. The question of the day today has nothing to do with that. The question of the day today is actually, what is your favourite sport? No idea where that one came from. Did I not replace it? I may have not replaced it. Personally, my favourite sport to watch is football, and I'm now facing several months bereft as the season draws to a close, although there is a small matter of West Ham potentially winning a European trophy later this week. On the flip side, my favourite sport to actually do is fishing, and the new season starts 11 days' time. But what about you? Are there any golfers in our midst? Do we have any cricket lovers? Or do you prefer the sport played by men with odd-shaped balls? Let me know in the chat. We'll come back to all of that at the end of the show when hopefully I've got the question of the day correct. Now, we want one of these. And we're going to start today's show with a more detailed look at the new L95 compact wheel loader from Bobcat. If you watched our construction equipment news show on Friday before last, I think it was, you might recall that we gave you a bit of a sneak preview. Well, now we can show you the machine in more detail. And if you look very closely, you might just recognize the test pilot. Now, if you bear with me for 1 second, because I've got to upload this one from my computer because it's a monster file again. This should just about do it, I think.
So behind me, you can see the new preview model of compact wheel loaders. This model is called L95 and will be introduced in September this year. This is the newest model in the range of the actual CWLs, in the range between 4 and 5 tons. And what's new in this machine? It's more powerful. It has 74 horsepower. It has 2-speed gearbox. That means that it can travel up to 40 kilometers per hour. More comfortable cabin with the air suspension seat, with the DAB radio, and also we will introduce more accessories with the machine. For example, the tires for agriculture.
Let me get rid of that. Pretty good, right? I hope you all spotted the test pilot was, in fact, none other than Mr. Nick Drew. Ever helpful, the Digger Man blogger. Thank you very much indeed for that, Nick. And I don't know if anybody else recalls this, but Bobcat recently stated its ambition to become the biggest maker of compact equipment in the world. I would say they look to be pretty well on their way. Like their competitors, I wish I knew what was going on with that one. Like their competitors in the global construction equipment sector, Komatsu is currently juggling customer demands for more power, more productivity, and more profit with the need to safeguard the planet. As you're about to see, they're doing a pretty good job with that juggling. Yeah, we had the good fortune of working with Komatsu recently, and they really are as committed to sustainability as they would have you believe. In fact, it underscores pretty much everything they do. I think that video illustrates that point perfectly. I think we need one of these because we've got something good coming up. We've got something bad coming up first, we've got something good coming up. I have called our penultimate film of the day, When Blasts Go Bad. I think the title kind of speaks for itself.
You see it falling? Y'all see it falling?
Oh.
What happened?
Power. This thing started smoking.
Oh, look at that! Oh my God! Oh my God!
This video was captured by Andrea Barber. She lives just across the street from the former Cheswick power plant. The dust that filled her video covered her home and her car. Officials say when that second stack fell, it also hit a utility pole and cut power to residents for much of this 90-degree day. We spoke to the vice president of operations for Chara Solutions, the company in charge of imploding the stacks. Here is what he says about the implosion.
The stacks came down right at about 8 o'clock. They both landed exactly where we planned for them to land. There was probably an air burst along with the concussion of hitting the ground that caused the air burst that damaged some windows and other things that were assessing and caused the dust.
So, well, there is certainly still cleanup to be done. The power, officials say, has been restored, roads are reopened, and the skyline in Cheswick is officially altered. In Cheswick, Marcy Cipriani, Pittsburgh's Action News 4.
An air burst throwing out dust. Seems plausible. An air blast bringing down power lines.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
So, a couple of things. First of all, there is no gripe of the day today, partly because I had a good weekend, and partly because our final film of the day is a touch longer than our usual fare. You might recall that our recent trip down memory lane proved extremely popular, so we've decided to visit Nostalgia Corner once again. I'll warn you in advance, the video we're about to play is not the best quality. I'm sure it was when it was shot, but that was long before 4K and high definition was even invented. In addition, the film's a bit of a weird shape and size as well. But setting all of that aside, I think you'll agree this was well worth sharing. Take it away, JCB.
Site preparation for construction work causes problems. Even on small sites, topsoil has to be stripped, basements dug, trees and scrub removed, roads provided for wheeled vehicles and equipment, existing buildings demolished and hundreds of cubic meters of earth removed for site leveling. All jobs that can waste time and could tie up a lot of expensive capital equipment. To help solve these problems, JCB manufacture a range of crawler loading shovels. The 110 was the first crawler loader to use a fully hydrostatic transmission system, giving high performance, excellent maneuverability and easy control. A system that won both the British Design Council Award and the Queen's Award for Technological Innovation. After several years of field experience, there are now 3 machines with capacities from 1.1 to 1.5 cubic meters. A range of powerful, reliable and versatile earth-moving machines. A JCB 112 with a 1¼ cubic meter clam shovel is preparing the ground for a new car park. Before removing the topsoil from some parts of the site, several small trees and bushes had to be rooted out. Used as a grab, coupled with the powerful lifting capacity of the 112, small tree stumps, rocks or lumps of concrete can be removed in one operation by one machine. In this sort of application, the versatility of the 6-in-1 clam shovel is obvious. The clam shovel also proves its worth when accurate site stripping, dozing or backblading is required. Another job often encountered in site preparation work is demolition. An overriding consideration here is safety, and the 110B, as with all JCB machines, is designed and built with safety very much in mind. The driver is totally enclosed in a rollover protection cab, tested and approved to international standards. Mounted at the front of the machine, this cab allows an unobstructed view of the bucket at all times. And the excellent all-round visibility gives increased protection, not only for the operator and machine, but also for people working nearby. A rear-mounted engine and low center of gravity gives the machine the stability it needs to work safely in this potentially dangerous environment. track gear for all crawler machines is an expensive replacement item, and so obviously the longer the track life, the less the machine costs to run. Recognizing this fact, JCB engineers came up with a high-endurance running gear called Super Track. Deeper hardened components, large diameter sealed-for-life rollers, and track plates with deep triple grousers all add up to give Super Track a dramatic increase in track life. A saving that is especially valuable for machines that spend much of their working time in conditions like these. The 114 is the largest machine in the range. Like the other two, it uses a fully hydrostatic transmission system. Unlike conventional drive systems, there are no clutches and no gears. Each track is driven independently in forward or reverse and controlled by one of two tillers. To travel forward, both tillers are pushed forward. And to reverse, both are pulled back. Allowing the tillers to return to their mid-position stops both tracks and hydraulically locks them. Steering is achieved by a twisting movement of the hand, resulting in one track being driven faster than the other. Or even one track being driven forward while the other is reversing to give contra-rotation. Apart from removing maintenance problems associated with clutch packs and gearboxes, the main advantages of this system are maneuverability and ease of operation. The travel speed and tractive effort are automatically balanced to give the best use of engine power and maintain maximum digging performance. The driver no longer has to spend time gear changing or even selecting forward or reverse. Easy, precise control is only one example of the degree of operator comfort built into this range of machines. The cab is weatherproof and has an armchair seat as well as a heater. Soundproofing reduces noise in the cab, as does the unique hush flow exhaust system. Both cab doors may be opened for ventilation, and of course sliding doors are far less prone to sight damage. Everything has been done to simplify routine maintenance. The 3-ram bucket linkage has the minimum of grease points, all of which are readily accessible. Even the pressure test points are self-sealing. By operating a hand pump on the 112 and 114, the entire cab may be tilted forward hydraulically. This completely exposes the engine and hydraulic circuits for inspection or maintenance. Engine access is unrestricted by loader arms. The philosophy is simple. A machine that's easy to maintain will be looked after, and a machine that's looked after will give better service and will be more profitable.
How good was that? Particularly like the 70s porn music as well. Maybe that's just me. Right, I've already said there is no gripe of the day. So that pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle, like as I always do, over into the chat, see what you're all saying today. If you can't stick around for that, then please stay safe, look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. If you do have the time and the inclination, however, I'll see you on the other side of this for what is now known as the Craic. But first, here is a final word from our key show sponsor, just as soon as I can find it. Good morning everyone. How the devil are we all doing this morning? I hope you're all fit and well. I'm just because it's fresh, I'm going to go back to the beginning of the chat in a minute. Great footage, Mark. Thanks for sharing. Some overloaded footage would be an eye-opener for some people. Let me raid the archives and see what I can come up with. I was planning to try and make Nostalgia Corner a bit of a maybe once a month or something like that, because I don't know just how much access I've got to that sort of thing. I know we've got some JCB archive material, but I'll see if I can find some old Cat and some old Komatsu stuff as well. See what we can turn up. So let's go back to the very beginning of the chat, and I'm going to say good morning, you filthy animal, to Mr. Dan Cullen, who was first off the mark this morning. Morning, Dan. Thank you very much indeed for being here, as always. And yes, happy Monday, lads and ladies. He says the excitement is building for Plantworks. As Luke Arney says in just a few moments, she says good morning first. She says in just a few moments, 8 days. 8 days. In fact, this time next week, I'll be rounding off the show, throwing my gear into the car, and I shall be heading for Peterborough because we're there the day before. So yes, 8 days. Can't believe it's here already. Mr. Brock, Jeff Pinion's in the house. Morning, Jeff. There is our friend Gary Muirhead. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, guys. Hope you all had a good weekend. I did have a good weekend, actually. Can't say I achieved a great deal. Had grand plans for doing stuff around the garden yesterday. Came to nothing. Fired the barbecue up and chatted with family instead. Probably a better idea. Also spent most of Saturday watching both the build-up, the game itself, and the follow-up to the FA Cup final as well, when I realised we don't have many football fans in our midst. And I'll come to that in just a second. Somebody did get under the radar without me saying good morning, so I'm going to stop quickly and say good morning to Glenn Johnston. Morning, Glenn. Thank you very much indeed for joining us over on Facebook. Mick Norton is in the house, and I'll come back to Mick in just a second. I have thoughts on our friend Mick. Luke Carney saying good morning to Dan Cullen. Good morning from Toyota. From Toyota? Is that the factory, or are you got a car in for a service or something? I may have missed a meeting on that one. Justin Carrigan from Awesome Earth Movers. Obviously, you all know who Awesome Earth Movers is. If you don't know already, make sure that you go and have a look at the Operator Challenge at Plantworks, because Awesome Earth Movers have pulled that together. Fine job they're doing as well, from all I can see. So congratulations, guys, and great of you to join us today, Justin. My question of the day, the real question of the day, not the one that flashed up on the screen. I'm going to sack the person that did that. What is your favourite sport? There's Mark Whiting saying good morning to all. Luke Harney reminding us that it is 8 days until kickoff. Ken Hatcher's favourite sport? Watching Formula One. I just don't do motorsport at all. Passes me by completely. And bearing in mind, I've been to the Nürburgring in the company of Volvo. I've been to Brands Hatch in the company of Pertec in the past. Largely wasted on me, to be honest. I mean, the trip to the Nürburgring was absolutely fantastic. Thoroughly enjoyed that, but mainly because I got to drive a wheel loader around the Nürburgring. And if you haven't seen that, there is a YouTube video of that. Just go over to the Demolition News YouTube channel, and I think it's called something really original, like driving a digger around the Nürburgring. Caught me on a bad day, apparently. Is there anyone travelling to Plantworks via the M25 on Tuesday or Wednesday? I'll throw that out there. Is anyone? I'm going up the day before, so that counts me out. I will be going via the M25, hopping on and hopping off. But no, I'll have already left by then, I'm afraid. Question of the day. No favourite sport exercise is an invitation to death. Sid Mick Norton cheerfully this morning. I think, and I'm inclined to agree. I do need to start running again. I did so well back in the run-up to Christmas. Split my heel. Stopped for a couple of months while that healed, never went back. Do need to do something about that. Question of the day. My favourite sport is cycling, and I hate football. Pursues play football nowadays. I'm going to guess that doesn't necessarily mean pursues. I'm guessing pussies play football nowadays compared to 20 years ago. We were pussies back 20 years ago as well, trust me. Was I still playing 20 years ago? Very tail end of my somewhat less than illustrious career. Have to say, lots and lots of tech on display at Bobcat's facility in the Czech Republic while we were over there last week. Impressed by the Max Control, impressed by the OLED display. Fantastic stuff. But in terms of the new equipment, have to say, I like the electric skid steer, the S27. Fantastic machine. But if I had to pick a personal favourite, the L95. Awesome looking bit of kit. As Dan Cullen says, now who's that operator? That was none other than the mighty Nick Drew, the pocket rocket himself. Gaz Evans, who is now 8 days. I would imagine come this time next week, he will be trekking from Welsh Wales all the way to the East of England showground to set out his stall, if he's not already there by then, set out his stall and hopefully sell everything. I reckon he probably will. Fair play to you, Gaz. Looking forward to seeing you there. Seems very stable to operate. I had about a 30-second spin. I managed to get in it just before a random German wanted to have a go, and he was better at it than me, so I had a very quick go. Awesome piece of kit. Nick Drew showed it off way better than I did. Let's have a look. Wow, he's giving that steering wheel a workout. I don't know if he was giving the steering wheel a workout or whether the steering wheel was giving him a workout, but I take your point. Peter McKenna, our friend Sick Note, is in the house. Morning, Peter. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Question of the day. Peter McKenna's answer is snooker and motorbikes. Used to love snooker on the telly. Not so much anymore. Motorbikes. Used to like motorbikes too, but then I drove mine into the side of a car. Less enamoured with them after that. Bobcat loader capable of 25. See, now here's my thing with Mick Norton, and I love Mick like a brother. Trust me, I love him like a brother. But there are times, Mick, when you really are a negative Nancy. Bobcat loader capable of 25 miles an hour. What about seat restraint? I don't know. I will check. I will have a word with the fine folks at Bobcat. My guess is they've probably thought of that. I'll check. But let's just for one moment, Mick, let's just picture a scene whereby you have won the lottery. And your chosen celebrity knocks on your front door with a cheque for £1 million. Most of us would greet that celebrity with open arms and snatch the cheque from their sweaty palm, cash it immediately, and go off to live a life of luxury. Mick, I have a funny feeling you would bemoan the colour of the ink used on the cheque. Or you would complain about the fact that you've now had to go to the bank to cash the damn thing. Every once in a while, just let one go. Just let one go. Bobcat capable of 25 miles an hour. What about seat restraint? I'll ask the question. I didn't ask purely because we were in a demo area where we were doing much, much less than 25 miles an hour. But I'll ask the question. Jim Turner is in the house as well. Good morning to you, Jim. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Now, my question of the day was, what is your favourite sport? Jeff Pinion says, question of the day, football. And then he kind of destroys that by saying Crystal Palace. But those two things don't go together, do they? Football and Crystal Palace? I'm just wondering, did Crystal Palace finish above West Ham in the table? I think they probably did. Ignore what I just said, Jeff. Just let that one slide. Just pretend I never said that. This was my comment, and I'll throw it out there just for good measure. Watching that JCB. Still not entirely sure why the crawler loader fell out of fashion. In the right application, it is and was untouchable. When I first started covering the subject of demolition, they were still very, very popular. The Cat 953, Cat 963, very, very popular in demolition circles. And it was like we all woke up one day and just went, do you know what? Nah, we won't do that anymore. And yet, I've never seen a machine manoeuvring over rubble quite like a Cat 953, 963. Did we do the right thing? Did we throw the baby out with the bathwater? I think we do sometimes. Mick Norton, on a more positive note this time. Some years back, I was part of a team making a decision to replace a large fleet of earth movers with either Caterpillar or Komatsu. Cost, safety aspects and productivity, very similar, but Komatsu sealed the multi-million deal with their guaranteed availability of spares anywhere in the Middle East within 24 hours. Who knew that that would ultimately become the deciding factor of so many jobs? And now we've come, not full circle, but now look at it. It's you obviously price comes into it, operator comfort comes into it, productivity, backup, part support, all of that. What about fuel consumption and sustainability? Who would have thought 20, 30, 40 years ago that we would be worried about what was coming out the exhaust pipe of these machines? And yet, major consideration now. JCB have gone from strength to strength, and long may they continue, I say. Ken Hatcher says, I drove a JCB 112 for months and worked on it. You won't beat laying underneath it, taking the belly plates off and doing an oil leak with on the drive pipes. No, I would imagine. That lovely shower of oil, I would imagine. Dan Cullen says, that's when operators were operators. No gadgets or phones to distract them. Very true. But then counter that with not much in the way of soundproofing, not much in the way of luxurious suspension seats. You know, either or. I do make a point a bit later on. We tend to hear from machine designers now about, we've increased the angle of the slope on the hood to improve the forward visibility. Did you see the forward slope on that JCB? Near vertical, clear line of sight to the bucket, as it should be. In some ways, it looked very dated. In other ways, way ahead of its time. Jim Turner says, I still think there's a market for a rubber track, heavy-duty 3CX style machine nowadays. Maybe there is. JCB, if you're watching, you heard it from Jim Turner first. He knows things. Was a small cab on them compared to newer models. I think, obviously, operator comfort has become a key priority, and if you are going to add all of the gadgets that Dad's already mentioned, and you're going to have suspension seats, and you're going to have room for bags and flasks and mobile phone holders and all of that kind of stuff, you need a bit more room. Do you need a bit more room? I don't know. I don't spend... The longest I've probably ever spent in the seat of a cab is probably a couple of hours when I was being taught to drive a 3CX about 1,000 years ago. The rest of the time, I'm in and out of a machine in 5-10 minutes flat, so I don't really notice that kind of thing. What I will say, and I realise we're not getting in machine cabs to sleep, I tend to feel very secure in small spaces. In fact, given the choice, the idea of sleeping in the back of a car or the back of a van or something like that suits me just about fine. As I say, not condoning sleeping in the cab, although I realise people do. Perkins 6354 engines. Did they mention that? Or did you just know that? If you just knew that, Ken, fair play to you. Encyclopedic type knowledge. I'm going to throw this one up because Jim Turner says Morning Fitzy, and for reasons best known to himself, that's Dan Cullen. I can't remember exactly what the full name was, but he is somebody Fitzpatrick, basically to overcome a ban on LinkedIn, I think. Is that a family name, Fitzpatrick? I don't know. Are you just throwing back to your Irish heritage? Let us know. Let's have a look. Mark Whiting. Good morning, Mark. The 110 was way ahead of its time. Yeah, absolutely. As I say, still not entirely sure why it fell out of fashion. That was something else that caught my eye. I did, in fact, have a pair of red JCB overalls as well. I'm trying to think. I think I may have been given them as part of our trip from John O'Groats to Land's End with Hugh Edliano of HE Services and his land shuttle machine. I know he was dressed all in silver, like an erstwhile Gary Glitter. The less said about that, the better. But I'm fairly sure I was in red. Pretty sure I was in red, which JCB kindly donated. Wish I still had them now. I mean, they wouldn't fit me, but they'd look pretty damn good hanging on the wall. I remember the hand pump. Yeah, absolutely. And there's Dan Cullen saying that tilting cab was amazing. Lot to be said for that kind of thing. Strong machine that was, says Ken Hatcher. Yeah, totally agree. Jim Turner, great footage. Mark, thanks for sharing some overload of footage. Will be an eye-opener for some people. I do have a specific way of searching for stuff for this show, which generally requires me to sort of trawl through the latest uploads to YouTube and various other video platforms as well. To get some of this older stuff, I'm going to have to come up with a new method, delve a little deeper, possibly reach out to some of the manufacturers to see what their archives contain. But it would be fantastic to feature some of that stuff. I'd love to get my hands on some footage, and I'm sure it exists. There's some footage of the first, for example, the first Komatsu and Hitachi excavators that made landfall back here in the UK back in the mid to late 80s. Very, very boxy, very square, criticised heavily, and yet look at them now. I think case beat JCB to the innovative counter-rotation Terramatic drive. I'll have to take your word for that. I'm trying to watch you in Toyota with the volume down. To be perfectly honest with you, Ken, I know you probably can't hear this. That's how you should watch this show most of the time. The music's good, but if you have the volume down, you don't have to listen to me babbling on. Question of the day, I love watching World Rally better than Formula One, says Dan Cullen. Again, another one that passes me by. Our friend, Paul Latham, God bless him, is here. Good morning all. Good morning to you as well, Paul. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Question of the day, it's got to be shooting to watch, listen to. Yeah, there is something reassuringly English, isn't there, about listening to cricket. I don't watch a great deal of cricket, although I have promised my son Fred that we will go and do a one-day game at some point during the summer, because it is dead exciting, I played cricket very, very poorly back in the day, and I have been to cricket a few times, thoroughly enjoy it. But listening to cricket, if you find yourself, particularly like the Ashes or something like that, find yourself on a long drive with the cricket on, there's something quintessentially English about that, and I have to say I do like it. Gaz Evans, we're going up on the Sunday. Any help getting stock in would be so helpful. There is a cry for help there from Gaz Evans. If anybody happens to be at the East of England Showground in Peterborough on Sunday this week, or possibly on Monday, go and look Gaz up. He could do with your help. The joys of being a one-man, one-woman band, I'm afraid, Gaz. Thank you so much for the Bobcat loader, Mark, Sean, Anthony. Made my weekend. For those of you that don't know, Dan Cullen was the winner of our competition last week and secured himself. Can't even remember what the model number was. I've got another one here. I could probably have a look. But yes, we did give our friend Dan our Bobcat loader, skid steer loader that we brought back from the Czech Republic. Dan Cullen, oh my god, good one, Mark. On Nick. Okay. It's the seat restraint apparently not being used that is my point. Okay, fair enough. I'm going to say good morning to Mark Chambers. Have we seen Mark Chambers in the house before? Not entirely sure we have. On that basis, we do need to give him the traditional breakfast show welcome. Mark, that is especially for you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. I'm just going to pop back to the comment that Mick Norton made. And I realised, before I even say it, I realise you can shoot me down in flames, and I realise that what I'm about to say contravenes just about every regulation on God's green earth. When we are at one of these events, like the one with Bobcat, with JCB, with Caterpillar, Komatsu, whoever it might be, you're in a very restricted demonstration area. There are no pedestrians to speak of. There are operators to help and assist standing by, but there's nobody else around. And you are operating at exceptionally low speed, and you are operating in a highly, highly controlled environment. I realise that seat restraints are required. I fully understand that, but I would say it was a demonstration area, and Nick was probably on that machine. If that video was 3 minutes long, he was probably on it for 3.5 minutes. That's how quick we work. Mick, please feel free, shoot me down in flames. I realise I wouldn't do it in a car. I wouldn't leave here in a car for 3 minutes and not wear a seatbelt. I fully understand where you're coming from. But then if I'm going out in my car, I'm not in a controlled environment in quite the same way. Dan Cullen says, M. O'Brien still has a number of tracked shovels. Does he really? Does he really? I didn't know that. There's our friend Paul Latham, who says, favourite sport used to be water skiing 20 years ago. I've been water skiing twice. Basically couldn't do it the first time, and the second time I managed to get up and stay up. But the pain in not my groin, but the bit where your thighs join your groin, I'm sure there's a technical name for it, but the pain in that of the water, any expanse of water that you're water skiing on is basically trying to push your legs further and further apart. So part of the skill of water skiing, as far as I can tell, is clamping your legs together and not allowing the force of the water to push them apart. But it's a muscle that you never ever use for anything else. And I came out of the water skiing having convinced myself that I'd mastered it, and I was walking like I'd recently stepped off a horse. Very uncomfortable. I've operated a JCB 805B excavator back a few years ago, says Dan Cullen. And I'm now on LinkedIn under a guy's lads. Somebody Fitzpatrick. I don't know who that is. Now, Mark, you can get a bed for your car. Yeah, I do realise that. I used to drive a Toyota L200 pickup. I thought it kind of went with my butch manly image, right? But it was also useful for going on and off site. So I decided that was the way forward. And I bought it with the plan of actually putting one of those pods on the back. Pod partly for the dogs, because when they get wet they stink to high heaven. But I also thought that would be a good place to actually put a bed. So, you know, on those occasions that I'm doing overnighters rather than staying in hotels, I'll rough it a bit, and I'll make myself a brew with a stove in the morning. Never did get around to that. Regret it. You'll really need to do a vintage plant show. See, I'm glad you said that, Gary. For those of you that have been watching this for any length of time, I have been promising for quite some time that I would do a marathon show. Our current record, as some people are aware, is just over 2 hours. That's how long we show to date. My plan is to do a 4 or even a 5 hour show. And the only way that I can do that, well, there are two ways. In fact, it's probably going to be a combination of the two. The easiest way to do it would be have multiple guests and possibly even multiple presenters. So I can hand over to maybe Peter Haddock or somebody and let them run the show for half an hour while I go off and eat toast and go to the loo and stuff like that. The other way to do it, which, as I say, we may end up doing as a bit of a combination. So we'd have multiple guests, multiple presenters, but we would also have multiple sections. So we might do, let's say we do half an hour on electric machines, do half an hour on technology or whatever it might be, just to, you know, gradually sort of fill the thing out. And we will tell you in advance when those breaks will fall. So if you're not interested in electric machines but you are interested in technology, you can turn up for the technology section and stuff. But that, which Gary Muirhead has just said, need to do a vintage plant show. That would make a fantastic section. And I reckon that would probably get some of the biggest numbers as well. So thank you for that, Gary. I have noted that down. Excuse me 1 second. My wife's been coughing all weekend and it's finally caught up with me. So yes, going back to Dan Cullen being Mr. Fitzpatrick on LinkedIn. Yes, Mark, it was my grandmother's maiden name before my grandfather married her. Fantastic. At least we understand now. Can you share in your social, Mark, if anyone's travelling early Tuesday morning, I'd share fuel to via Hertfordshire. Let me see what I can do on that. I can come, Gaz. If you need help, pal, text me. See? This is matchmakers. This is Hinge, Tinder, Grindr, if you will, of the plant world. Gaz, Dan, get yourselves together. Enjoy. Thank you, Mark, for another fantastic morning of content yet again. Thank you very much indeed, Dan. If you are deemed an influencer, always best you follow what is deemed safety critical best practice. Yes, you're right. I mean, I hate the term influencer anyway. But I think the niche that I have accidentally carved for myself in the sphere of content creation is more warts and all. If anybody has read anything that I've written about, for example, about the NFDC over the past few months related to the CMA, I don't tend to pussyfoot. So if I film a machine and the operator is not wearing a harness, I film the machine. If I film a site and there is an operator standing on top of a crusher while the crusher is operating, I film it. I'm not going out to capture that. I am capturing what is there before me. And that is exactly what I've done there. And I have to be honest, while I agree in principle with what you're saying there, Mick, I am not there to police what others are doing. I am there to capture. I'm not likening myself to the BBC here. But if the BBC send one of their news reporters to Boris Johnson's house, apparently it's quite a big deal at the moment, send your TV crew to Boris Johnson's house to see him coming back from jogging. I don't believe he's jogging because he seems to be wearing shirts. I don't think anybody actually goes jogging in shirts. I think it's all staged for the camera. But if he went for his jog, he came back and got into an altercation with a BBC cameraman or a Sky cameraman and threw a punch at him. Assault, whoever started it, whatever the circumstances, assault is against the law, but the BBC would have every right to capture that on film. And that is where I stand on it. Do I do this myself? I'm not an operator. And therefore, if I'm in the cab, yes, I do wear lap belts and all the stuff, mainly because I'm such a piss poor operator that I know I could come a cropper. But as I say, the term influencer sits very uncomfortably with me. I think content creator is closer, although I don't like that. I don't like the notion that content just sounds like I'm a sausage factory, and I'd like to think that what we produce is a little better quality than that. And ultimately, you know, I will go along to a machine opening day, and you know, we have done this in the past. We've been at machine open days where somebody has managed to tip a machine over. Not my fault, not my problem. I had a camera trained on it. There is a thought that says, should you be showing that? Yeah, I think you should. Like I say about every time we report on an accident, I realise it sits very uncomfortably with certain members of the demolition fraternity, but every accident, every fatality is a learning opportunity. I'd say exactly the same about that. You know, seeing an operator working without any sort of restraint, is it right? No, it's not. Showing it, is it right? Yes, it is, because we're now having a discussion about it. And maybe, just maybe, somebody that's watching this show might go, oh, yeah, that's the point. I haven't got my seatbelt on. Maybe. So that's where I stand on it. Shoot me down, if you will. Feel free. I've got thick skin. Anyone go to Polite wants to like to meet up, let us know, point of contact, and we'll get a coffee, says Dan Cullen. We do need to nail that down. Paddy Fitzpatrick, is it, Mark? Paddy Fitzpatrick, absolutely. You will use that muscle if you had a bad curry on the way to the toilet, Mark. It's a little bit further forward than that, but I take your point. Let's have a look. Get in contact with the Cat Link Club. Do a show from their Sibbertoft weekend. Sibbertoft weekend. Don't know what that is, but I'm guessing it's a vintage plant show. Now we've had some feedback. Mr. Drew was wearing the lap belt provided. Thank you for that, Nick. Now, I guess that throws open the question, is a lap belt appropriate if you're doing 25 miles an hour? But I will reiterate that Nick Drew was not doing 25 miles an hour. I don't suppose he was doing 5 miles an hour most of the time. So, just to clarify, Mr. Drew was abiding by the rules. And as you saw him getting in and out the machine, 3 points of contact all the way, he was abiding by the rules. Thank you for that, Nick. Again, it's a fantastic discussion point. And yes, in an ideal world, yes, I would only ever show you machines being operated properly, demolition going 100% right, and people going about their business in the safest and most lawful way possible. But it ain't the real world, and I'd like to think that we do reflect. We hold up a mirror to the real world. I don't go looking for the bad. I don't go looking for the good. I just go looking, and if I happen upon either, then I'm more than happy to put them, serve them up to you as a smorgasbord for you to enjoy on a weekday morning. Right, people, that's nearly an hour. Dan Cullen, let's have a look. No need to apologise, Mick. I think it was a point worth making. My apologies to Nick Drew. I was mistaken. Not a problem at all. Dan Cullen says, going back to it, guys, have a great day. Stay safe. Don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them before you leave for work or during the day. I always say at the end of these things, look after yourself, your family, your friends and your colleagues. Maybe we should start ending with that. Tell your loved ones that you love them. Maybe. Just a very quick heads up, just while we are petering down to... while we're landing the plane and we're coming into the very, very end of the show. Two things. On Wednesday night this week, we are going to be premiering our exclusive interview with the new NFDC President, John Lynch. We produced it a week or two ago, but it's taken me this long to edit it. It's nearly an hour long. It pulls no punches in either direction. I obviously asked him about all things to do with the CMA and the NFTC's failure to further punish the guilty parties. He fires back, and it's mutual respect all round. I didn't expect him to take my questions lying down, and he didn't, and I'm glad of it. So that will be premiering on Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. You can go to Demolition News, but you can watch it exactly wherever you're watching this. It will premiere across LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube as well. And there will be no show on Thursday. I'm going off. I've mentioned this recently. I've mentioned that I'm basically working with another publisher just outside this business, but kind of allied, showing them how to do social media. Like I know. As it stands at the moment, I showed you last week that my son Fred has now got his plaque for 100,000 YouTube followers. As it stands at the moment, I am at 93. I'll be on 94,000 within the next hour or two, I would imagine. So we are very, very close to following him. So we should soon be a 2-plaque household. But yes, I'm going to use all of that to help teach this company. So on Thursday this week, I am going to be elsewhere. But there will be a show on Wednesday. There will be a show on Friday. Just no show on Thursday. I'll remind you again when we get a bit closer to the date. And then obviously Friday being Friday, it will be show in the morning, show in the afternoon, all things being equal, the construction equipment news show. And then once I've packed that up, it will be time to go and pack the car, ready for that little thing called Plant Works. Plant Works. By the time Friday rolls around, it will be 4 days away. 8 days today, 4 days by Friday. So yes, if you are going to Plant Works, please look me up. For those of you that are already a member of the WhatsApp group, I mean, I'm more than happy to arrange a date and a time and a place to meet up. But if you are in our WhatsApp group and you get to the show and you just fancy grabbing a cup of coffee or having a selfie with me, why you'd want to do that remains to be seen. But if any of that strikes you as a good idea, just drop me a line on WhatsApp and I'll come find you, or you can come find me, or we'll meet somewhere between the two. So yeah, I'm going to be busy, but I will make the time because, frankly, the people that we're filming are nowhere near as important as the people that watch what we are filming, if you get my drift. Right, that's an hour. People, go have a good day. Have a splendid day. In fact, hope the sun comes out. It's not here at the moment, but fingers crossed. I shall see you all very, very soon. In fact, I will see you tomorrow. Same time, same place, 10 a.m. for the Breakfast Show, episode 522. And we are sharing in the marketing suite. Sharing what? Is that where I'm supposed to be? Ah, okay. All welcome for a coffee. I tell you what, Lou, I'll draw a line in the sand today, but if you can let me know whereabouts the marketing suite is, then I will. Yeah, okay, I'd guess that much. If you could let me know where the marketing suite in the environs of Plantworks, I will make that the meeting point. You will have your own office. I will have my own office. Suddenly feel very important. In that case, obviously there will be times when I'll be broadcasting, because that's what I'm going to do. But come to my office. Who knew? I've literally just found that out. I'm sure I've been told. I'm sure Lou hasn't just sprung that on me. I'm sure I knew I had an office, but hey, I've got an office. Quite excited about that, given that I spend most of my time working in a bedroom. So yes, come and find me in my office at Plantworks. I'll be more than happy to chew the fat with you when I see you. Till then, everybody, go and have a fantastic day. Paul Latham says, stay safe and God bless Mark. I think my oldest lad is going to be at Plantworks. I'm getting to make contact with you when he's there. Please do that, Paul. Be more than happy to meet up with him. And you know where I sit on all things religious, but God bless you too. Very few people tell me God bless, in case I burst into flames or something, but God bless you too. Everybody, go and have a fantastic day. See you tomorrow.